Versatile Mage. Chapter 76 Treacherous Banquet. The moonlight was charming, and there was a wind flowing around the tranquil Bow City, giving it the gentility and elegance possessed only by a southern city. The mountains outside of the city were endless. Tomorrow was the day that was extremely important to his life. The children of poor people didn't have a coming-of-age ceremony. However, from everyone else's perspective, he already had a decent coming-of-age ceremony, being the supportive role to the disciple of a rich family. From everyone else's perspective, he was also undoubtedly crouching on the floor, acting like a footpad for Yu Ang's shiny leather shoes so that Yu Ang could appear even more outstanding among his peers. However, was that really true? Lifting the beer in his hand, Mo Fan raised his head to pour the ice-cold beer down his throat. In front of him was a tall tower. The 100-meter-tall Global Trade Center was towering in front of him. It was like a prominent sword loftily erected in the center of the city, with glorious lights. Mo Fan sat on the balcony with the wind drifting onto him. In the past, he had really enjoyed sitting here. He was able to see all of the flourishing scenery of Bow City, the Global Trade Center, Mu Manor, Bow River, and Tianlan Magic High, located on the southern mountain. He was feeling rather rueful. Behind him came the sound of footsteps, rhythmic and slow. An ice-cold wind blew over from behind him. Mo Fan didn't need to turn around to know who it was. "I asked Xinxia, she told me you were here," the girl's bright voice called out. If it wasn't so cold and detached, then her voice would be as beautiful as a silver bell on a snowy day. "Looking for me this late at night? I won't be able to elope with you this time." Mo Fan grabbed a paper used to wrap peanuts and put it next to him, signifying someone should sit there. Mu Ningzhu stood there, watching Mo Fan's familiar movements as she remembered some things from the past. When she was young, he would take her to some bizarre places to play. No matter where he went, he was able to sit on the floor, whereas she would be afraid of dirtying her beautiful skirts, so she'd refuse to sit. At some point, he started to find something clean to put down next to him. Even his jacket was a victim, although his jacket sometimes would be filthy. "Don't go tomorrow, Yu Ang will be harsh on you. He listens to my father's every direction. Anyone who harms my father, even if it is just cursing at him, he will harbor grudges toward and will not stop until you die." Mu Ningzhu didn't walk over, she just stood there as she said this to Mo Fan. "Your father sure adopted a good dog. I reckon he'd bite anyone your father wants him to." Mo Fan didn't have a favorable opinion of Yu Ang. "He's really odd. I don't like him, either," Mu Ningzhu agreed. "Then that's good. I'll help you educate him tomorrow," Mo Fan said with a smile. "Do you not understand me? I don't want you to go tomorrow." Mu Ningzhu wrinkled her eyebrows. "Miss, have you reached the intermediate rank yet? Don't go tomorrow. After avoiding this, go to Magic University immediately. During the time you're in university, I will slowly take control of the authority of my family, so when you return to Bow City, no one will do anything to you. You want to provide for me, but I will still go." Mo Fan turned around as he acted surprised. "You?" Mu Ningzhu was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. She sincerely wanted to help him, yet, he was playing such a joke on her. Doesn't he know that offending my father means that he will have no place in Bow City? Mu Ningzhu realized she was unable to get through to Mo Fan. Thus, she turned around and left. "Brother Fan, I heard that little princess was looking for you," Zhang Xiaohou asked through a text. "Yeah, what happened?" "She still admires me. She wanted me to understand the tyrannical and cruel guy named Yu Ang. Speak normally, please." "Alright, she wants me to run in order to avoid dying. Ha ha ha. Brother Fan, I also suggest you run. Yu Ang is abnormal. His entire being is odd." The day arrived in the end. Mo Fan, who had stayed at his little Aunt Mo King's house, heard the sounds of festivities early in the morning from the Mu Manor not too far from him. One after another, luxurious cars followed the curvy mountainous road as they entered Mu Manor. Who knew whether Mo Fan, who was going there by motorbike, was losing face for the title of Yu Ang's opponent. Just when he was about to enter the large iron gates, Mo Fan saw a few familiar figures. Li Wenji, Fashi, you're finally here. Hurry up and come in. Our manor has some of the best chefs of Bo City. I guarantee it will suit your tastes. Guo Kaitang stood by the gates as she welcomed her team members. Ha ha ha, thanks to you, we, the small city officers, are able to have the opportunity to come to this wealthy ancestral family's home and take a look. Fashi patted his growling stomach. It's too bad that Kid Fan Mo had some matters to attend to, so he was unable to come. Or else you could let him understand your extravagant life, and when the time comes, he will definitely pursue you without stopping. Li Wenji added. Guo Kaitang glared ferociously at Li Wenji. Guo Kaitang actually felt somewhat disappointed. She actually really wanted to invite Fan Mo to her own house. Hey, it's Fan Mo. Guo Kaitang's gaze suddenly turned to see a familiar figure. After looking carefully, Guo Kaitang immediately felt loathing and twitchy. How is that Fan Mo? It obviously was that little scoundrel, Mo Fan. I really don't know where this kid got his guts from. He is actually having a duel with Yu Ang. No matter what, he's going to be beaten half to death. Humph, you came. Guo Kaitang looked at Mo Fan sideways. Arrogance was not enough to describe her appearance. Yeah, there's no other place to eat breakfast, Mo Fan said with a ruffian-like attitude. Guo Kaitang got angry. This little scoundrel was making the Mu Manor into a buffet. If you apologize now, I will tell Yu Ang to go easier on you, Guo Kaitang snorted coldly. You're still brooding over the things that happened when we were young. In that case, how about I take responsibility for it? It's not a big deal, Mo Fan said. Go die. After Mo Fan finished teasing Guo Kaitang, he laughed as he walked toward Mu Manor. In any case, he was an important character for today, so he should have his own seat. Forget it, there's so much to eat, let's start with everything. Who is this haughty kid? That's the disciple of an ancestral family. He even dares to assail our sister Kaitang with obscenities. What ancestral family? It's just the son of a chauffeur. The one who cursed our master Mu, and the one who is having a magic duel with Yu Ang today is precisely him, Guo Kaitang snarled, full of disdain. Are all the teenagers nowadays that arrogant? Not all of them. If you look at the Fan Mo in our team, lightning element with a solid strength. Young, yet not arrogant. Kaitang, I advise you to grab Fan Mo as soon as possible. If he is taken by some other girl, Fashi said once more. Don't talk about useless stuff. Humph, I invited him to my home this time, yet he actually didn't come. Who would understand him? Guo Kaitang's cheeks turned red as she hurriedly explained herself in a low voice. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 77 The Stepping Stone for Someone Else. After entering the Mu Manor, Mo Fan unfortunately heard Fashi, Li Wenji, and Guo Kaitang discussing him. In his heart, he wondered what kind of expressions they would have if they knew that Fan Mo and Mo Fan were the same person. Forget it, let's focus on the duel today. Entering Mu Manor's large dining hall, there were indeed numerous tasty delicacies placed on the table. Mo Fan, who was just getting hungry, was about to start eating when he came face to face with a handsome mustachioed man surrounded by young, unmarried women. Good brat, you really dare to join the banquet. The mustached man glared at Mo Fan. Head instructor, you're also here to eat and drink for free. Mo Fan didn't expect head instructor Zhang Kong to be here as well. Cough. What are you saying? Zhang Kong broke free from the crowd of young women. He pulled Mo Fan aside and asked with raised eyebrows, how about it? Why don't you join my army when you graduate? If you get into a good magic university, our army will cover the large cost. I know you've caused trouble for the master. The government can protect you and guarantee that you'll be able to stomp on these second generations if you aren't satisfied. We'll clean up your mess. This wasn't the first time Zhang Kong tried to recruit Mo Fan, and it was hard to say if it was only to get back the precious bone scythe shield. No, protecting the borders every day is boring. I still want to stroll around the big cities. Mo Fan rejected him. What's so good about a big city? Reinforced concrete, vehicle emissions, and foul stench. How is that better than our large stronghold with enchanting scenery, bird songs, and fragrant flowers? If you're not satisfied with the meals, you can go hunt a few magical beasts outside and bring them back to eat. How free is that? Zhang Kong said, smiling. Either way, I'm not enlisting, Mo Fan said firmly. All right, you brat sure are stubborn. If you agreed today, I'd help you settle any big matters in the future. Since it's like this, I won't care even if you get beaten half dead by that guy Yuang. Zhang Kong's face darkened. With Zhang Kong's reputation, he could get any young magician he wanted. Most would beg for the chance, yet this kid didn't even give him any attention. As Mo Fan was about to walk away, Zhang Kong pressed a finger onto his shoulder. Head instructor, what's the meaning of this? Are you going to force me to join? Mo Fan asked, confused. Zhang Kong's vulgar yet charming uncle-like demeanor disappeared, replaced by a serious expression. Not joining my team is fine, but help me with one small matter. What matter? Mo Fan was puzzled. When you battle that kid Yuang, be mindful. Mindful of what? Just be mindful. I don't understand. Before Mo Fan could ask more, two middle-aged, important-looking people walked over. They seemed familiar with Zhang Kong, who immediately smiled and greeted them. Mo Fan was completely confused. He had no idea what Zhang Kong wanted him to do. Not too long after, Principal Zhu, Deng Kai, Yang Zue, and other important figures of Bo City began to appear. Mu Juoyan personally brought Yuang to greet them. Principal Zhu represented the magic school. He was the Mount Tai of all magic schools in Bo City. Deng Kai was the head of the Hunters Union, naturally holding an aloof position. Yang Zue represented the Magic Association, his power close to the previous two. Representing the military was Zhang Kong, the strongest magician in this crowd, the true god of war of Bo City. Mu Juoyan needed no introduction. He was the head of this elemental family. Mo Fan realized he had met all these important characters of Bo City. Did that mean he himself was important? The truth was, Mo Fan knew he was still far from their level. He only received attention because he excelled as a student. Once he entered society, he suspected they'd quickly forget him. The three instructors, Luo Yunbo, Pan Lijin, and Biang, were also there. From what Mo Fan had learned, they were stronger than the hunter team's captain, Zhu Dawang, and were close to becoming intermediate mages. In Bo City, reaching intermediate mage level was impressive. Any power would try to recruit someone that strong. If Mo Fan reached intermediate mage, Mu Juoyan wouldn't dare trouble him. The number of intermediate mages in Bo City could be counted on two hands. Mu Juoyan really went all out this time. It feels like anyone with even a bit of prestige is here to give him face, people whispered in the banquet hall. How could it be otherwise? The Mu family already has Mu Ningzhu. Their future position will rise greatly. Who doesn't know old Juoyan will soon be able to cover the skies with his hands. Today, he'll introduce Bo City's little tyrant. If you want to make something of yourself in Bo City, how could you not come? If you refuse an invitation, you'll be blacklisted, a man from the Magic Association said. Isn't that exaggerated? Another asked. It's true. Look at us. How old were we when we reached intermediate mage? Then look at Mu Ningzhu. How young is she? That shows the power the Mu family will wield in the future. That's why, other than boss Zhang Kong, someone beyond us common folk, everyone has to treat Juoyan with respect. I don't understand what that foolish brat Mo Fan is thinking. Even we have to agree with whatever Mu Juoyan says, yet he talks back. He really doesn't want to stay in Bo City. Sigh. That's hard to say. I've heard Mu Ningzhu and Mu Juoyan's relationship isn't too good. If Mu Ningzhu says to leave someone alone, Mujuoyan can't be too excessive. Yeah. Besides, I've heard Mo Fan is the top student of Tianlan Magic High and gained Boss Zhangkong's backing during his practicals. Principal Zhu and Deng Kai would definitely protect him. Even if they don't want to offend Mujuoyan, Boss Zhangkong wouldn't care. Who has Boss Zhangkong ever feared? Whoever touches his soldiers will be crushed. He'll destroy everything in his way to their home. Fashi, hearing people discuss this, joined the conversation. Not long after, he returned. Xiaokei asked, Brother Fashi, why is everyone talking about Yuang and Mo Fan? Oh, I just found out. Mo Fan is representing the strength of the magic schools. He'll duel Yuang, a disciple of an ancestral family. The winner will get the chance to cultivate at Bo City's extremely precious underground holy spring, Fashi explained. So that's it. I heard it's been years since a magic school student entered the underground holy spring. That's normal. Schools have many students to manage, and one or two incredible geniuses appearing occasionally is a good harvest. The disciples of ancestral families are elites. They may be few in number, but they are all exceptional. It won't be surprising if Mo Fan becomes the stepping stone for someone else today. It's lamentable. A student who emerged victorious from 1,500 people still isn't better than someone from an ancestral family, Xiaokei sighed. Being born into a good family is a skill. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 78. Tonight, supporting role. Mo Fan walked around and obtained some news from the people nearby. That's what I thought. What was the point of making two youngsters duel so grand? As it turns out, it is actually a duel between the powers of Bo City. This battle was indeed not a bad thing for him. If he performed well during the duel, he'd make a name for himself. That's not bad at all. Zhuman, Xiaohou, Hiyu, Zhang Yinglu, Zhu Zhaoting, Wang Sanpang. How come you guys are here too? Mo Fan suddenly discovered a group of relatively young figures. It turned out they were his classmates. The school had a few spots, and Mu Bai helped get us in here. It's not every day that you see the school's #1 expert fight with the disciples of an ancestral family. How could we not come and see? Zhu Zhaoting sounded a bit sour. For Zhu Zhaoting, a great lightning element user, this spot was originally his. In the end, it was taken by Mo Fan, who fought his way here. However, after what happened during practicals, Zhu Zhaoting's scorn toward Mo Fan was no longer as fierce as before. Everyone's lives had basically been saved by Mo Fan. In fact, he was actually hoping for Mo Fan to perform brilliantly during the duel this time so he could regain some face for the magic school. Brother Fan, I just saw Uncle Mo Jiaxing's name on the invitation list. I reckon it was done by that guy Mu He, Zhang Xiaohou said. That's a good thing. Mo Fan, you need to do your best, Zhuman said with a pure smile. Mo Fan nodded. The Mo Fan from 2 years ago would never have imagined that his duel would become such a passionate topic among the crowds today. That is also good. The feeling of having so many eyes on you is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's way better than being in the dark with no one knowing who you are. Everyone, I'm thankful for those who came here to congratulate my son. Time always flies so fast. Some of us will inevitably reach a point where we can no longer cast magic. Bo City's future will inevitably be seized by the younger and ever more outstanding youths. You may think that I have invited everyone here for my son's coming-of-age ceremony, but that is a mistake. I have always believed in the students surpassing the master. I, Mu Juoyan, am only able to do this much for Bo City. I can only help preserve the current state of this Bo City that has given birth to many magicians and outstanding talents. However, in the next 10 to 20 years, Bo City will be in the hands of the young and will become even more prosperous. Becoming an increasingly flourishing mage city is definitely possible. Don't you think I should be holding a majestic banquet for the future of Bo City so everyone can witness it together? Mu Juoyan, the organizer, raised a goblet of red wine as his face flushed slightly, hinting to the present guests. Alright, let's give a toast for the future of Bo City. Yang Zue was the first to stand up as he greeted Mu Juoyan. The people present are all those qualified to discuss our Bo City. Master Mu Juoyan is not the only one looking forward to its future. This toast, I will drink all at once. The guests also stood up, toasting before drinking it all. Amongst the people in the hall, Mo Fan discovered that Tang Yu, who was also present at the banquet, seemed just as sick as he was from what Mu Juoyan had said. She even rolled her eyes during the toast. He didn't know which part of Mu Juoyan she was against. After Mu Juoyan's impassioned speech, the grand feast ended, and naturally, they welcomed the most important event of the day, the magic duel. Many of these people didn't come here to listen to Mu Juoyan's stereotypical speech. They just wanted to know whose family would claim the underground holy spring this year. There were numerous magicians in Bo City who were still at the primary level, casting the same magic so many times their hands developed calluses. But how many had actually stepped into the realm of intermediate mages? Stardust cultivation was unfathomable. Some people displayed talent from the start, yet still could not cross that threshold. Thus, primary magicians for life were everywhere. Hence the heavenly treasure, the underground holy spring, which could greatly increase a magician's chances of advancing to the intermediate level, became a sacred prize that many dreamed of obtaining. Unfortunately, it was only open to the younger generation of magicians with unlimited potential. Furthermore, only one person could enter each year, and few could win against the disciple of an ancestral family. When Mo Fan was just a student, he didn't even know Bo City had such a treasure. He didn't know that by being brash and reckless, he'd end up seizing an opportunity countless others in Bo City longed for. It seemed to prove the saying, if you don't give it your all, you won't know how great your strength is. The time for the magic duel finally came. Mo Fan was already waiting in the inner arena after hearing Mu Juoyan's arrangements. An elliptical center emerged in the duel arena. It was much bigger than the school's training grounds, almost the size of a sports stadium. On both sides were ascending seats, more than enough to contain Bo City's invited guests. Mo Fan stood in the center of the duel arena. In fact, he had been standing there for a while. Yu Ang was late, clearly so Mu Juoyan could give him a grand entrance. This didn't feel good. It made Mo Fan feel like he was in a bullfighting ring. The bull released so the spectators could judge its strength, admire its physique, and see its sharp horns. Then, the main character, the handsome and elegant matador, would enter brilliantly a moment later, lights flashing, applause ringing out. My son, that's right, that is my son. Mo Jiaxing was cheerful, speaking proudly to Mu family's old employees nearby. Not bad, old Mo, it could be said you brought a change of fortune, said a gardener. As long as he doesn't get completely beaten. I've heard this Yu Ang is unusually fierce against his own brothers and sisters, said a cleaner. The youths are just testing their skills. How could they be fierce? Mo Jiaxing chuckled. In Mo Jiaxing's view, this was just a common duel. He thought that a great figure like Mu Juoyan wouldn't stoop to childishness. The truth was, many knew Mu Juoyan wanted to trample this Mo Fan who didn't know his place. Bets. I bet this kid Mo Fan gets beaten in a single move. Shit, no matter what, he's still the #1 student of Tianlan Magic High. How could that be possible? I'll still bet on it. I've heard about Yu Ang's abilities many times. As the crowd discussed endlessly, Yu Ang, wearing a unique garment, finally emerged. His clothes looked like they were made of leather, yet also like high-quality silk, sparkling under the lights. He looked like a prince walking into his palace. In terms of appearance, they clearly put a lot of effort into it, which created a huge contrast with Mo Fan, who wore sandals to the arena. Dressed in high-class attire, Yu Ang's demeanor instantly rose several levels. His tall stature and somewhat delicate features naturally dazzled a few girls. On his snowy white clothes was a design that incorporated his family's ice magic emblem. Yu Ang strode into the arena, the corner of his mouth lifting in a confident smile that made it clear he was the main character today. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 79. Magic Duel. Crap, this old guy Mu Juoyan is really going all out. Are you able to count how many magic equipments and how many magic tools are on his body? As Deng Kai saw this, he almost jumped out of his chair. Principal Zhu repeatedly shook his head. The reason why the numerous students from school were unable to beat the disciples of an ancestral family was not just because their cultivation was slightly lacking, but their equipment was definitely not as good. At this coming-of-age ceremony, who knew how many magic tools and how much magic equipment old man Mu Juoyan had given to Yu Ang? What about Mo Fan? Other than the bone scythe shield he received from Zhang Kong, it appeared that he had nothing else. How do you even fight this? Seeing this scene, Principal Zhu and many others from the school were slightly dejected. Deng Kai, since this duel was approved by you, then you can be the referee for it this time. Mu Juoyan gave a slight smile. He was waiting to see a good play, a cat dominating a rat. Deng Kai really did not know what to say, so he could only pray for Mo Fan in his heart. The two are both well-known figures amongst the younger generations. Having the duel is to motivate you to work even harder on your cultivation. Either way, take your positions. Deng Kai stood in between the two young magicians as he said this in a voice everyone could hear. Deng Kai then slowly took a few steps back, but he did not completely exit the field. At that spot, if something were to happen, he could quickly put a stop to it. All right. Shake hands. Wait for my signal to start. Deng Kai said. Mo Fan and Yu Ang were facing each other as they both extended their arms. A wisp of ice condensed on Yu Ang's palm. At the instant Mo Fan shook hands with him, he could feel a cold air penetrating into the depths of his bone marrow. Mo Fan's response was quick, as his arm turned burning red. The flames were protecting his own flesh, arteries, and bones. With his face remaining the same, he raised his other hand to erect a middle finger toward Yu Ang. You really are a little rat that doesn't know anything. However, that won't be a problem. I will freeze your brain that is filled with water. That way, it could perhaps make you more clear-headed. After Yu Ang let go of his hand, he turned around and let out a cold laugh before taking his position. Idiot, Mo Fan replied. After returning to his designated place, Mo Fan subconsciously closed his eyes for a moment. He opened them again as his gaze swept across his surroundings. When he had entered this manor, he had seen countless eyes filled with ridicule and sympathy. Many were saying to him that he was incredibly brave, yet the corners of their mouths carried a shallow smile of disdain that meant, you're overestimating your own strength, simply attempting the impossible. In this world, there would always be someone who thought they were clever. Using the excuse of being experienced and having schadenfreude tendencies, they would judge you based on every action that appeared to be overstepping your boundaries. They themselves were trapped in a cage of mediocrity, living in a system they thought no one could escape from. Thus, they thought and hoped for everyone to be the same as them. Furthermore, they used an opinionated and short-sighted belief to ridicule those who dared to do anything more. These people loved to rejoice over other people's misfortunes, incessantly gossip, and show off their limited knowledge and sense of superiority. Today was the day Mo Fan would make them all shut up. Duel, begin. As the command came, Deng Kai had thoroughly declared the beginning of the magic duel, which Mo Fan had been waiting for a long time. In the next second, Mo Fan's pupils instantly emitted scarlet fire rays. Within the fire rays, you could clearly see the 7 flame stars quickly connecting to each other to form a star path. Dazzling star path, magic come forth. A ball of flames ignited on top of Mo Fan's palm. The scorching flame sprites were excitedly jumping around, impatient to scorch all the inflammable materials in the surroundings. Fire burst, scorch. The speed of Mo Fan's completion of the star path was fast. The people could still hear Deng Kai's declaration of battle echoing in their ears. The adept casting naturally startled everyone present. It seems like he's still got some ability. The problem is that this first level of fire burst is completely useless. Strange, hasn't this guy already grasped fire burst, burning bones? Why is he using the first level, fire burst, scorch? The power of burning bones is much stronger than scorch. Since he already seized the opportunity of casting magic first, why isn't he being more fierce? Instructor Luo Yunbo immediately revealed the suspicions in his heart. The people who somewhat knew Mo Fan already knew that he was the first person in the entire school to have grasped the second level of primary magic. The might of fire burst, burning bones had already been displayed back in practicals. In this important duel, why did he decide to cast fire burst, scorch? On the other side, Yu Ang was not in a hurry at all. He stood there watching Mo Fan finish his star path, looking as though he was saying, "So what if you finish your magic spell first?" Ice spread. Yu Ang no longer waited. He also used his intent to control all of his stars. He was just as adept at it as Mo Fan. Spirals of cold air swirled around the expensive white clothing that Yu Ang wore. Ice spread, coagulate. Yu Ang continued to chant the name of his magic. In a split second, the entire duel arena's temperature abruptly dropped. It went from a hot midsummer to a cold winter season. Snowflakes were floating, there were partially frozen layers of frost, and ice motes fluttered through the air. The white snow of frost descended upon Mo Fan. With the speed of ice spreads freezing, if Mo Fan were to stand more than 3 seconds within the area, the lower part of his body would definitely be frozen. Ice spread was an extremely advantageous spell during a showdown. At the primary caster level, only the wind and earth elements had any movement spells. The effect of ice spread had always been an entire area. Once it arrived and the snow frost fell to the ground, the magician would have to escape from this area within 3 seconds or else be frozen still. Those who weren't fast enough were completely unable to escape from the frozen zone. Yu Ang's ice spread covered a large area around where Mo Fan was. Even if Mo Fan did all he could to run, he definitely could not escape the range of ice spread within 3 seconds. Thus, after 3 seconds, Mo Fan would become a human target. After that, Yu Ang would continue to cover the place with yet another layer of ice spread. Mo Fan would become an ice sculpture that would attract the laughter of the crowd in yet another 3 seconds. There was nothing to be done about it. Ice element was basically a no-brainer when it came to dealing with slower magicians and magical beasts. This was because ice spread was said to be the spell that required no technique within primary magic, yet was still very useful. Shit. Did this kid go crazy? Why is he still standing there? If it was me, I'd just start running. The second you get frozen, it'll be over. Mo Fan didn't run. If it was any other knowledgeable magician facing ice spread, they would start moving so they wouldn't be easily frozen. You want to freeze me? At this time, Mo Fan burst out with a smile. Mo Fan didn't throw the flames in his hands at Yu Ang. In fact, he was very clear that the small level 1 fire spell was definitely not able to emerge victorious against Yu Ang. This fire burst, scorch possessed another clever function. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 80 Level 3 Ice Spread. He lightly raised his palm, and the ball of flames on his palm rolled down. As the flames fell, the scarlet-red fires instantly spread beneath his feet, turning into a gorgeous scarlet carpet. These flames began to burn around Mo Fan's surroundings. He already had the body of a fire user, so even if flames burned around his body, they would not affect him much. Furthermore, layers of ice were still accumulating under his feet. As the frost encountered Mo Fan's flames, it instantly melted. Raising his head as he stood in the middle of the flames, Mo Fan had a smile on his face, carrying hints of provocation as he looked at Yu Ang. The ice spread that was everywhere had melted into water from the effects of scorch. Mo Fan didn't even need to move to avoid being frozen into an ice cube. Using the fire burst, scorch on his surroundings, thus removing the effects of being frozen from the ice spread. This guy is pretty clever. Tang Yu, who was seated in the audience, had a trace of a smile on her face. Even though the students from the magic schools had been learning magic, their understanding of its uses was still incredibly limited. Just like the Fire Burst spell, practically every fire student who cast Fire Burst would subconsciously throw it directly at their foe's body. In fact, Fire Burst Scorch had many uses. For example, if you cast it on a fixed area, causing it to ignite continuously, it could become a fire wall to seal and cut off roads. Or, like Mo-Fan, you could roll the flames beneath your feet and rely on your natural fire resistance to create a protective barrier of fire. This layer of flames could at least shatter the freezing effects of an Ice Mage's ice spread. A level 1 fire burst broke the level 2 ice spread's freezing effects. This is a little interesting, Principal Zhu nodded. During the stage where one lacked a variety of spells, being able to flexibly use what you had was a profound skill. Clearly, in the first exchange, Mo-Fan still held some advantage. My turn. Mo-Fan stood in the center of the flames protecting him, his star path connecting once more inside his pupils. The speed of connecting the star paths was very quick, and he casually grasped his hands. Another fire burst emerged on Mo-Fan's palm, but this time the intensity of the flames was different. The fire burst in Mo-Fan's hands was impetuous. Fire burst, burning bones. The temperature of the raging flames increased, and a dazzling scarlet-red fireball was thrown out. It left behind a long trail of flames as it streaked across the spectator's line of sight before accurately falling toward Yu Ang. It's the second level of fire burst. If you're touched by this, you'll definitely be burned into ashes. Many knowledgeable people present were shocked. After seeing Mo-Fan easily cast the second level of fire burst, their hearts began to stir. Yu Ang's ice spread was broken, now he'll be more passive, Guo Kaitang said, slightly worried. Don't worry, Mu, he said calmly. Mu Juoyan wore his usual smile, as though everything was under control. Fire burst, burning bones finally fell. However, the crowd quickly realized that Yu Ang's speed had suddenly accelerated. He actually moved 4 or 5 meters to the side just as the flames approached him. His speed was so fast that people felt dazzled and astonished. As Mo-Fan saw the burning bones flames land on empty ground, his brows slightly furrowed. He could see clearly. Yu Ang's leather shoes emitted a dim yellow light, and then Yu Ang moved like he had gained the Earth Ripple spell, shifting a few paces away. Shit, it was a piece of magical equipment. Magical boots. An earth magic equipment with the Earth Ripple spell. Having the Earth Element's Earth Ripple appear out of nowhere disrupted Mo-Fan's plan. Fortunately, the imprint spell within the magic equipment required a magic stone each time it was used, and needed to be recharged to use again. Otherwise, Mo-Fan wouldn't stand a chance. The fire burst's flying speed was fast, but it still couldn't outpace Yu Ang's monstrous Earth Ripple movement. If you think your little flames could make me useless before you, then you're too naive. This farce preserved for 2 years should end. I'll let you live, or else I won't get to see you kowtow before my adoptive father in front of everyone. Yu Ang laughed maniacally. Yu Ang raised his 2 hands and, in an instant, the entire field looked as though it was engulfed by a snowstorm. Driving snow descended from the sky, the cold piercing to the bone and freezing everything into ice. The violent snow caused the temperature to plummet so fast that even the flames could not continue burning. This kind of cold, it was as though the very air was frozen. Ice spread, blizzard. Yu Ang stood arrogantly in the middle of this concentrated snow, like a snow beast. The dual arena became boundless with grim, ruthless snow, as though winter's disaster had descended. It left no way for any living thing to survive. The spectators on both sides fell into this world of ice and snow, subconsciously hugging their chests as their teeth chattered. Holy crap, the last time I met Yu Ang, he had only grasped ice spread, coagulate. After just a year, he's actually cultivated ice spread to the 3rd level. Ice spread, blizzard is basically an ice disaster, extinguishing flames. No matter where that kid Mo-Fan hides in this arena, he'll be frozen into an ice cube in seconds. Fashi yelled. Fashi clearly remembered that when they fought the one-eyed magic wolf, Yuang and Guo Kaitang's cultivation were about the same. Up until now, Guo Kaitang still hadn't reached the third level of ice spread, yet Yuang had already crossed that realm. What kind of cultivation speed was this? It's over, it's over. Can't you see that Mo Fan's protective fire has been extinguished? After the snow completely falls, we'll see a human-shaped ice sculpture, Li Wenji exclaimed. Principal Zhu, Deng Kai, Yang Zue, and others felt the same. The guests present gasped one by one. 18 years old. This was Yuang's coming-of-age ceremony. Many old magicians in their 40s or 50s would brag about reaching the second level of ice spread, yet at 18, Yuang had already reached a realm many ice magicians could never cross in their lifetime. Words failed them. Today should be like this. Mo Fan also has a magical equipment, Instructor Luo Yuanbo noted. Zhang Kong shook his head. A bone scythe shield is useless against a spell like ice spread. The bone scythe shield was a good defensive magical equipment, but so what if its defensive power was strong against ice? The copper-clad bone would still be turned into an ice sculpture beneath ice spread. Mo Fan's magic equipment was basically useless in this duel. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.